Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It's Laura from Tenacious Taurus Twin Flame Tarot, and this is a special Twin Flame energy update. And so that full moon in Libra came in and brought a lot of revelations. I've been receiving all kinds of revelations and downloads over the last couple of days, and now I'm finally able to sit down and share all of these messages with the Twin Flame Collective. And so what I want to say, like indigestible food in the belly, guys, is no different than an evil deed, right? An evil deed is basically its own punishment. Hi, kitty. And if we don't experience it in this life, it will follow us to the next. And so what I want to say is nobody, absolutely no one can escape the laws of karma that are kind of playing out in the energies. And so a lot of revelations. I was kind of taken back to the beginning of the journey, where I know I found it hard to keep my head above water, as all of these past life memories kind of consumed my mind. And so this is how we learn, this is how we grow, is through relationships. And this is why relationships come up in almost every single reading, because relationships serve as a catalyst or a vehicle, so to speak, for our personal spiritual growth and for this personal transformation that we're all here to lean into when it comes to our intuitive senses and our emotional level of understanding. And so things are feeling really, really messy in the collective right now. There's a lot of projection, I feel, of insecurities, projecting our fears onto others, and oftentimes we don't even realize that we're projecting, right? And so we're on the precipice of embarking on these new earth energies, which are triggering a lot of fear and anxiety collectively, about the way things are, the way things are supposed to be. And so before we can come to terms with what it is that we need to change, and this Pluto energy is coming in saying, hey, where do you need to take responsibility for the path that you've created? And I do feel there's a lot of lashing out, especially when it comes to feelings of betrayal or abandonment, and especially lashing out when it comes to those that are not now able to kind of walk this path with us any further. And especially when nobody is able to kind of release the burdens off of our own shoulders. It is the energy of death. It definitely is the energy of death. Today would be the Passover of Christ. And then Easter Monday would be the resurrection. And so we do have the moon in Scorpio all weekend, which is feeling like death. And so we kind of got to wait for the dust to settle when it comes to all of this exposure that's recently been illuminated, in order to really have a clear sense and vision of who are your true allies, and to kind of see all of the unintentional damage that was done, especially when it comes to these divine relationships that are stemming around all of this past perceived betrayal in our subconscious mind. And so there's going to be a lot of angry outbursts, I feel, in the energies. So we are going to have to kind of be ready to ride the emotional waves that are coming in like a tsunami this weekend from the moon transits in deep dark Scorpio. And so there's a lot of energy affecting our thoughts, our feelings, the way we communicate, and our intuition in a whole bunch of different ways right now. And so when we experience this inner conflict, when we're in a state of confusion, restlessness, and deep reflection, this will be reflected in our outer world, usually within a relationship. And so you might find it really hard to express yourself clearly over the coming days, or even to understand another with all of this very heavy scorpionic energy. And so this is where we're being asked to explore the depths of our emotions, and in the depths of our emotions is our creativity. And so although this is a challenging time for many of us, when it comes to intense emotional experiences that are stemming around deeply rooted issues, past life issues, all of this is surfacing to become the forefront of our awareness. And so intense emotional power struggles in those karmic relationship cycles is likely creating a state of emotional catharsis, is what it feels like. And so we do have to go through these states of emotional catharsis in order for the releasing of all of these old emotional issues, guilt, shame, regret, in order to gain that understanding of our own internal world and dynamics, and to understand why these conflicts and emotional power struggles keep arising. So what I want to say is I do feel a lot of the divine masculines are really kind of backed into a corner when it comes to the karmic using some form of emotional blackmail or guilt against them, with this extreme manipulative behavior stemming from jealousy towards the divine feminine. And so a lot of spiritual testing, there's a lot of psychological functions breaking down when it comes to the memories of the past that do deeply affect us negatively in this present life, in this present moment. And so with the moon opposite Uranus this weekend, this is going to create a lot of emotional upsets and a lot of relationship turmoil if you are not aligned with your higher purpose. And so a lot of these energies are going to be self-inflicted, because we're not going to be able to control the intensity of the emotions that are arising. And so how you react to anybody emotionally lashing out at you is going to be critical this weekend. There's going to be a lot of impulsive emotional reactions based on maybe an upsetting decision recently made. And any little tiny drama or trigger is going to easily turn into total chaos this weekend. And so we have the moon in Scorpio opposing Venus in Taurus. And so this is increasing this deep need for companionship. And, you know, many of us are very loving and affectionate, right? But when you're already in a relationship simmering in a shit pot of tension, it's going to be harder to be warm and tender. And so especially when these loving affections aren't returned. And so I do feel the karmic is kind of melting. Like, I'm melting. Like the Wicked Witch of the West is kind of what it felt like. And so many downloads. So we're in the gateway of change. Absolutely. We're in this portal of change right now, and we are progressing. The number 8 was very significant. 8 does represent the strength card. 8 does represent your true spiritual strength, and it does speak of material abundance and rewards. My personal soul vibration is an 8. My counterpart's path of destiny and my path of destiny combined together is 8. And so 8 is the energy of infinity, as above, so below. And you see it often on the Magician card, the infinity symbol. And so these twin flame connections are eternal. Physical separation cannot keep us apart because we are always united in the heart. And so we can't keep existing in this status quo vacuum that society has kind of created. And life is a continuous cycle of death and rebirth. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. And so Godhead Lakshmi was coming to me in my realm of consciousness over the last couple of days. And I do feel the masculine's in a state of humility. It is the energy of crucifixion for the divine masculine when it comes to the rejection of the feminine. And so the feminine truly is an artist, is what I want to say. And she's accepted the rejection of the masculine as part of her own transformation process. And the feminine really has reached, I feel, this place of acceptance of these changes and understanding that rejection is God's protection, and rejection is part of the process to heal these underlying abandonment wounds. And so the masculine is in a very self-destructive reaction, I feel, now that the feminine has surrendered, released, and is at a place of now rejecting the masculine, is what it feels like. And so there's a lot of loss in the masculine's life, I feel. He's lost his sense of worth. He's in a state of public humiliation, is kind of what it feels like. And he's in this state of this creative block. And waiting for the right amount of energy, I feel, is going to be key. And so right now the masculine is lacking all kinds of inspiration, which is making it feel like progress forward has kind of come to a complete halt. And so there is a need for the masculine to take action, no matter how mundane it will feel. He will have to take action towards the feminine if he is to finally overcome these feelings of emptiness. And I do feel the masculine sees the feminine in every face that he looks at. And so as the feminine comes into this place of attunement, of non-polarity, of alignment, right? I do feel the recognition of the muse. The feminine is the masculine's muse, and her creative energy is ebbing and flowing. And so we do need that muse, and sometimes the muse has to come and go as part of this collaboration. And so the masculine needs to be willing to be blindly open to this change, to this collaboration that will benefit the whole, the greater good, and the sum of all of humanity. And so I feel that the feminine is coming into some type of benefactor energy, whether it is a say like an inheritance from a death in the family, or a lottery windfall of some sort, as she's gone through this expansion of her personal communal progress with spirit. And so the feminine has this natural auric ability to bring positive change into other people's lives. And so the masculine, on the flip side, has had this constant need to be the center of attention, and he's ignored the importance of the divine feminine. And so there is this deep hunger. All morning I was like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. And I wasn't really hungry. I'm like, why am I so hungry? And so there is this deep hunger, this deep insatiable appetite, 1111, coming up in the masculine's life right now, in his emotional world, creating this deep desire for change. And so I feel the moon phases have a lot to do with the symbology that's kind of being activated in the third eye within the collective. And so I do feel this obsessive tendency since that full moon has really washed over the masculine. And for the feminine, I feel that zero polarity and all of those obsession abates have kind of faded away. And the feminine knows, like, we had to embrace this change for change's sake, right? And so this obsessive tendency, I feel, is now bestowed upon the masculine. And so all of this is because of his abuse of position in a past life. And I've linked this all back to the Freemasonry and the Knights Templars. And I was shown all of this years ago, and now it's kind of coming back full circle when it comes to the abuse of powers within the Knights Templars society. And so I do feel this inevitable retribution is what's taking place because, you know, the Knights Templars, they did have a fall, and they unfairly deprived a lot of people of this sacred knowledge. And so Master number 33, to be 33rd degree Freemasonry, it is linked to the divine feminine. 33 is linked to the sisterhood of the rose and the divine feminine. And these institutions that started way back in 1307 have used and abused the divine feminine. They have stepped on the divine feminine's toes. They have abused and stolen the divine feminine's gift of the Gnostic knowledge of the esoteric realm, and they've kept it to themselves. And so what I feel is this ultimate recrimination is what's coming through for this unfairly deprivation of the feminine collective. And so this inevitable retribution is coming forward. And so the Knights Templar Society come across as very altruistic, borderline narcissistic. And so the greater good is really key in clearing all of this ancestral karma in the energies. And so we cannot deprive humanity of their gift, right? And so I do feel the masculine has to make a sacrifice for this communal progress. And so a lot of higher cosmic principles are kind of integrating right now, bringing a lot of harmony and success towards the feminine, a lot of higher communication when it comes to the benefit for the whole, for the greater good of humanity. And so the feminine has this natural cunning ability for this progressive cosmic communication in order to bring these beneficial changes to humanity. And so Jupiter right now is in Aries, and I feel this really is the detriment to the masculine collective at this time for all of their altruistic, non-cooperative decisions. There's a lot of personal regret. There's a lot of personal regret that is part of this greater personal expansion that really has been lost right? And so the feminine is the keeper of the Holy Grail. The feminine has all of the keys. She sees it all. She knows it all, right? And so the masculine now, I feel, has to be sacrificed as part of this rectification and course correction. And the energy is saying it's time to correct. And so there's this deep DNA process going on. And so when we go through our spiritual activation, we start off with 12-strand DNA. And then when we get to the 36-strand DNA, you're fully activated at the 144 frequency. And so I do feel this very deep spiritual process of crystallization when it comes to the coupling of these divine unions. And so there's a lot of change that is coming as a result of this correction or crucifixion type energy coming through. And so all of these destructive tendencies that the masculine has applied is bringing forward the necessary severity of punishment to ensure course correction will be applied properly. And so the masculine's been met with all kinds of resistance. He's reinforced his negative behavior instead of rather rectifying the situation. And so the severity of which the destruction that the masculine will meet will all be dependent on the resistance of this transition. And so I do feel this very restless curiosity when it comes to the divine feminine's highest expectations to explore these new horizons. And so the energy is about feeling, right? And so when we feel this deep desire for change and we ignore the voice of reason because of something impersonal or irrational in a past experience, the universe is going to keep prodding us until this comes into our awareness. And so this deep hunger is like the depth of feeling that the feminine has activated within the masculine. And so all of these conditions are being stripped away with these emotional waves, these emotional tsunami waves. And so like this hunger, this desire, this curiosity towards the feminine, this is triggering all of these past life collective experiences into the conscious mind through the third eye in order to learn from them rather than to keep repeating these experiences. We are here to master these lessons. And so mastery is expressed through our wisdom, and mastery is manifested through the advice and the channeling advice that we receive. And so all of these past life memories are bringing forward all of these old experiences, and I do feel a bad taste in the masculine's mouth. But I do feel, he has been shown what he needs to see, and he has also been shown who is on the other side of the mountain, which is the divine feminine. And the divine feminine is what is keeping the masculine healthy and alert through this course correcting gateway experience. And so I feel the masculine can no longer remain where he's at as an observer. He is being asked to share his gifts in order to transform humanity with the divine feminine. And so we are in the year of seeking that truth. We are in a 7-year, and so it's really time for the divine masculine to sit back and consider all of the repercussions of their past actions, not only this life, but throughout all time and space. And so this seeking energy is creating an emotional rush, a rush of kundalini. And so that's why they've ran from the feminine, and they've stayed in those toxic spiritual contracts in hopes of escaping the pain of the lesson. And now they're in a deep state of boredom, and there's no other choice but to dive deep into these fixed patterns and to understand the sacredness of this fundamental attunement, right? And so there's a lot of active energies when it comes to our awareness. And so the waiting, the separation is what binds this new life form together, right? And so there was a lot of energy coming through from ancient Greece. Prometheus was a big one. And so I was always shown, like, if we go down, we all go down together, right? And so if the captain must, he does go down with the ship. And so the masculine's on a sinking ship. He made a premature, disastrous urge to cut the feminine out, which has now led to a major loss. And the masculine is feeling weak with all of these challenges and needing to find his spiritual courage to face this adversity. And so as the feminine returns to a state of inner peace, the masculine's ability to ignore the feminine is no longer there. And so there's a lot of temptation surrounding the masculine. And so the gift right now that the feminine holds, I feel, is maintaining her composure and in this state of tranquility. And so when we're comfortable in our own power, in our own rhythm, we really are unstoppable. And so the masculine, on the flip side, is being pushed into this inner peace. And this is being experienced through stagnation. And so the masculine is being very much constrained at this time. There's a lot of compulsive obsessiveness coming up as the masculine does feel endangered. He's feeling helpless. There's a lot of stress. And this compulsiveness is creating all kinds of negative effects, right? The fight or flight energy. And so he's got to learn through all of these stressful energies. And to be a true leader is not just to act. It's also to surrender to the limitations, 2112. And so we're going back to 2021 now. We're going to go back to 2021 where we had that grand conjunction or the great conjunction. And so there is a surrendering to these limitations, these fixed limitations. And as we surrender, that is where we find our empowerment through our third eye imagination. And so the energies of the moon are saying, I can't just stand still. I can't stand idle anymore. And so the masculine's inability to surrender, to just keep playing at odds in the karmic contract, and to playing into all of these survival patterns has created a deep sense of vanity, is what it kind of feels like. And so the feminine is the energy of the archer, right? The hunter and the prey. And so the feminine is like this creative genius is what's coming through, and that comes through a lot. And the feminine's ability to transform all of these experiences have a strong hold on the masculine right now. He can no longer hide behind that mask, behind the blind two of swords, not going to look at it, going to deny it. And so this drive to deny this truth has led to a separation, right? And so it is during the separation that we go through these periods of enlightenment. And so the feminine's ability to remain calm and to recognize the inner meaning of her true being is really where we need to be in order to be in that place of flow right now, divine feminine. And so the masculines dismissed this joy. He went towards an illusion, and now we're just waiting for that ultimate failure in order for this disillusionment to be recognized. And so when we wait and we know that we're told to take action, it creates like this pressure cooker energy, physically, mentally. And so I do feel all of this growth and awareness is coming forward with this universal flow of unconditional love. And so I do feel the masculine wanted his cake and wanted to eat it too. He was given this power of position in a past life, and he did abuse it. And so now his purpose is to be fulfilled by accepting this death and this transformation. And so the masculine is in a waiting, active state. It's kind of like being pregnant, right? The masculine impregnated the feminine with this seed, with this love. And so I do feel the feminine's tenacity to stay true to her own rhythm, to restore her life to an order of vital, healthy abundance and flow, is bringing forward a lot of great satisfaction. And so a lot of the masculine's mundane rituals have not been attuned to the higher vibrations of all of life. And now they're being forced to deviate from that lower emotional place that is destabilizing them. And so the masculine's energy is manifesting a lot of insecurities. It's highlighting a lot of unhealthy behaviors, maybe even physical limitations or disorders. a lot of maybe mental disorders. And so they let others lure them away from the divine feminine, whether it was a friend or a karmic person, like a karmic woman. They were so compulsive about these old, outdated patterns that they automatically chose to release something that was healthy for them, and they chose discord and disruption. And so I do feel the jealousy surrounding the karmic feminine is very unpredictable, because they're pretty fixed in their ways too, and they're pretty inflexible and not willing to adapt. And so I do feel this is bring forward all kinds of inherent challenges that the masculine must embrace and transcend. And so we're in the gateway of deliverance. I do feel the masculine is feeling all alone, and he's going to have to find his own power of will to deliver himself and to transition out of these struggles and to accept liberation. And the survival of the spiritual community is going to be dependent on this. And so I was working closely with Godhead Harmonia, which I have in my human design aspects. And so recuperation, renewal, is going to bring the feminine this beautiful enjoyment of all of the harvest and fruits of her labor, 2611. And so the feminine has mastered her strength to enjoy being alone. I love being alone. And so the moon energy is really making the egos, the masculine's ego, very uncomfortable. They don't like being alone too long. And this is why they jump from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. And all they do is create more karmic ties and more karmic baggage that will eventually have to be faced and addressed as part of this deliverance, to shed those old qualities which have hampered liberation of humanity as a whole. And so this natural peacefulness does come in this deliverance state. And so all of these cosmic forces have hampered the masculine's liberation. And it is within the power of being alone and blinded to your own ego that all of these possible destructive events are going to be taking place. And that does create humility. Humility is part of the journey to Christ consciousness. Christ was humiliated, right? And so I think the feminine is kind of sitting back right now, enjoying this deliverance and not really having to flaunt it much. And so the feminine really has avoided the negativity of what the masculine's been going through. And so the masculine's egoic arrogance is demanding this attention, right? He wants attention, he wants what he wants, and he wants it now. And so the cross of denial, the masculine denied. He ran so far away, the longest run, like run, Forrest, run, Forrest, run. And like, are we out of the woods yet? Is what I want to say. And it's funny because my divine counterpart, his whole karmic clan lives on Wood Street. Are we out of the woods? And so this uncontrollable, zealous energy can no longer be ignored, is what it feels like. And so the masculine's inflexibility, his rigid thought processes, his lack of recognition is creating all of these negative forces that must be rejected. And so this revolutionary energy of the new age of Aquarius is demanding absolute victory. And so the feminine has maintained the rejection of all of these negative relationships. She's mastered her intuition. And so it is creating this revolution of acceptance. And so the masculine can no longer deviate from this purge, like massive purge. And it is the energy of decapitation, off with their head. And so that's so interesting, the energy of decapitation. I had to laugh. So like the energy of decapitation, right? Off with the head. And so this is where we do have to face our inner dragon. The dragon's head and tail. Fairness and reason are key in these energies. And so the twin flame couples are here to have a magnanimous relationship. We're here to remove power from those that deserve that drastic treatment, where they have abused their power and their authority. And it is the energy of ejecting and exemplifying. And so when we go back to like the French Revolution and all of that stuff, And so were the Knights Templars really deserving of that punishment, I suppose, right? Was another thing that kind of came through. They were cruelly punished. And so there's a lot of distortions going through the ego when it comes to power and authority as part of this bonding. And it's like the measure for measure, right? And so, and that's how it's kind of described in the Bible, measure for measure. And so we're channeling a lot of tribal energies right now, is what it feels like. And we do have to spend time alone in order to understand our part within the collective group. And so aloneness in the beginning, it is a process of individualization. We do need to separate ourselves from people, places, and things in order to really understand the essence of the desire within us. And we cannot reach that state of wholeness by being connected to multiple people. And so we have to harness our strong sense of independence on this journey. And so we have to also step away from interdependence and go on a solitary journey. There are just some paths on the spiritual journey that we have to walk alone with God. And so this is the love of God. This is the love of our cosmic work, our cosmic mission. We're involved in this correction for a reason. We are here to help deliver the collective to the promised land, and where the meek do inherit the earth. But we do have to be willing to work hard for this, and we have to healthily exert our ego's power. And it is about providing for our family and the spiritual community. And so this renegotiation energy, the masculine, I feel, is crystal clear. They know they need to show appreciation and loyalty for the feminine's effort. They know they need to come forward and support the divine feminine emotionally, to feed us, to give us time to rest, and to take care of us, because we are the one that holds the keys to these resources that will be provided for the collective. And so the masculine has found themselves looking for all kinds of friendships that will only like feed their ego, when in actuality, it is about looking for friendships that will support the higher spiritual community. And so we're reaching completion. 37. I met my counterpart just before my 37th birthday. And this was the activation of embracing my own family lineage. And so macro and micro, cosmically speaking, right? And so we're each a tiny little macro, right? Or a tiny little micro of the macro whole of the cosmic universe. But we all hold a part within the community. And so a lot of these past life subconscious memories are coming up. And they really are transpersonal expressions of what we need to understand for the revolution moving forward. And there is a lot of mother-father wounding coming up. From my own personal journey, my counterpart, both of his parents are deceased. I know a lot of divine masculines have deeply seated mother and father wounds, and so does the feminine. So once again, like an inheritance energy coming through, an inheritance. And so harmony really is key, right? And we have to understand how to balance in our own personal state to get to a place of harmony so we can have successful maintenance in all of our relationships. And so it's only through the harmony and the beauty that the feminine holds with these family values that we can endure taking responsibility for this karmic debt. And so I do feel the feminine is at a 0 point, a no polarity, which is triggering the understanding of all of these principles, and the masculine's individual responsibility when it comes to these foundations and successful cooperation for the whole. And so I do feel like there's a lot being delegated when it comes to the responsibilities within the Twin Flame Collective. And so we do need to have an even-headedness to be able to step into these leadership positions. So I feel the masculine's at the cross, and he's bargaining with the universe right now. And so it is the energy of judgment for these inappropriate behaviors, for this imbalanced manner, for these past transgressions. And isn't it ironic, right? What goes around always comes around. And so the acceptability of this deep emotional sensitivity to this inappropriate behavior. And so we are here to lead by example. We are here to lead by example. We are here to manifest the highest principles of the cosmic law order every single day in our practical life. And we are here to embody this in all of our relationships, which will result in these leadership roles. And so the masculine is being asked to accept the leadership role of the father, of a valued role model with the divine feminine. He's been insensitive to this leadership position, but ultimately this does stem down to love. Unconditional love, unaffected devotion to family. And that song has been coming up a lot for me. When I See You Again from The Fast and the Furious, family is everything. And, you know, family doesn't mean we have to be emotionally dependent, because when we become emotionally dependent, then we often turn love into a deep-seated hatred. And so dependency will never turn into love. It will never turn into love. It will always turn into hate for the other person. And we're here to step into maintaining new family traditions by recognizing the value of a true masculine and a true feminine in a family dynamic. And so this is what the Twin Flames' purpose is to enhance and recognize the value of a true family dynamic. So the feminine's gift, I feel she's recognized this inner meaning of what family means. And I do feel I've reached a place of appreciation for all of the values, negative and positive, that my family has brought into my conscious awareness. And so I do feel the masculine can no longer ignore the feminine's achievements. Although they've preferred casual relationships and friendships, we are now in the realm, I feel, of Avalon, fulfilling this purpose. And so I do feel seeking this communal energy, recognizing our own spiritual power, and that we can hold both a family and a community together with our warmth, our friendliness, and our nurturing nature. And so the feminine is here to create all of these new emotional connections, whether it's through touch or activating a chart. But I feel the feminine's openness to love is getting the masculine in this state of trying to bargain with the universe, is what it feels like as part of this deliverance. And we do have to go through this deliverance of our spiritual self to get to a place of innocence, to find our spiritual warrior, which is our inner wounded Chiron. And so 25 was coming up. My brother's born on the 25th. We actually both have a birthday coming up here. He's April 25th. I'm April 26th, but he's 1985, and my brother is a Taurus North Node. And so right now I feel we're in this vessel of love with Godhead Michael. We're in this vessel of love. I feel we're in this gateway of equality, to love everything equally, and the counterpart comes in, and we have to clear all of this obsession, because it isn't just a love between me and another. It is a love between me and everything equally as a whole. And so triumph over the lower spiritual world. And so I do feel as we go through this purging, and as the moon prepares to shift into Sagittarius on Monday, I believe it is Monday, the resurrection, we're going to be in this state of wonderment, in this state of love, in this state of selflessness, where our motives are pure, and we've universalized all of this psychic attunement, and that in itself is a reward, right? To come into our own psychic attunement is a reward. To understand our highest potential as we center through these challenges to reach a place of attunement. And so I do feel like, you know, and we're not here to publicize our selflessness, like no good deed. Like I don't go around recording what I do for people as a good deed. And so, you know, and so I feel the masculine is facing some type of existential crisis this Passover, this Easter, to surrender to devotion and dedication for the feminine. And so the masculine needs to release these egoic personal motivations, all of these projections, and they're going to have to get to a state of innocence internally. And I do feel the feminine is divinely protected as the masculine learns the value of his spiritual qualities. And I do feel a lot of failure, a lot of shock and failure coming up this weekend, a lot of loss, a lot of misfortune, and this could manifest to the extreme end as committing a crime or possible suicide attempts. And I hate to say that, but when we get activated into the depths of this scorpionic energy, it is feeling like death, and that is a possibility. And so the loss of spirit through this failure is there for potential. Not every divine masculine is going to choose to rise as that true father figure. And so the beauty of the feminine's rose. The masculine dumped the feminine like a piece of garbage. He treated her like a piece of garbage and didn't see the beauty of the rose that she held for him. And so all of this decadence that the masculine has engaged in, you know, and he's maintained this, and the masculine's like maintained this energy of like this pity party, and maintained his innocence no matter what circumstances are going on. He's maintained his innocence that, you know, he was justified in garbage dumping the feminine. And what he's created is a freaking dumpster fire in his life, is what it feels like. And so recuperation can only be met when the masculine decides to heal this vitality with the feminine, which should be his first priority as he comes out of the depths of the shadows. And so I do feel there's a lot of hypochondriac coming up. The masculine does need the healing hands of the feminine. He's weak, he's weakened. He does require the healing from the feminine, and his ignorance, his false innocence really was, bottom line, betrayal. And so this constant inappropriate behavior has created all kinds of counterproductiveness, and the masculine is stripping away all of these masks, these facades, in order to go through this innocence so that he can break free from the lower spiritual energies. And so we have to fully accept and surrender to this new form, to our higher self. This is pivotal as part of this transformation, and in order for us to embrace our individuality. Our innocence was there as pure love when we were born, and we are here to bring this pure love into the world without discrimination. And that's what love does not discriminate against skin color, against race, against religion. Love is universal. And so the gateway that we're in right now, I feel, holds massive potential to empower the divine masculine collective to love life again and everything in our human existence equally. A flower can be loved as profoundly as a human. But if a flower isn't growing, we change the environment around the flower. And so the quality of our love sometimes can be projected as cold, right? The masculine's projected his quality of love as cold and callous. And all of this mystical potential is rising in order for us to reach these states of universal love and transcendence. And so this is where we meet our spiritual innocence. And we do have to go through the trials and the tribulations of being tested in order to meet our fullest capacity as part of these initiations, just like a spiritual warrior. And so the spiritual warrior, I feel, is at the gateway of the Fool. And the energy is prodding the masculine to take a leap of faith into the void, to choose to initiate and meet all of these challenges, and to trust that when you take that leap of faith, you will land on your feet. You will always land on your feet, and this will deepen your sense of innocence. It will deepen your sense of wisdom, and it will empower you and others on the spiritual journey. And so I feel the masculine is getting ready to emerge, likely a little bit wounded from all of these initiations, but ultimately this will lead to triumph. It will lead to overcoming these survival fears, and we will lead an enriched life through the energy of spirit and with those all around us. And so we are here to live a life of wonder, love, and we are here to just be. And so we're pushing upward, we're pushing onward, and we're reaching completion. And so this is where the masculine has to find his determination to understand that the feminine's body is a temple. The feminine's body is good fortune. And the feminine holds a certain cosmic serendipitous energy around her. And this is the right time and the right place for this deep spiritual union. And so I do feel the Godhead of Christ. The masculine is meeting God at the cross. He's meeting God at the cross for his past deeds. Nobody escapes the law of karma. And so something new, I feel, is being discovered. We can't just create art for art's sake. And I know I did this for art's sake. The love that I have for art is undeniable. And he was my muse for this creative endeavor. And sooner or later, I'm going to self-fulfill whatever it is that I've chosen to manifest through all of my dedication for this success. And so I feel judgment, obscurity around the masculine. And I do feel he's looking at the feminine as this prima donna right now. She's got the halo. She's this prima donna. And so despite the masculine's behavior, I do feel he knows he has to find his determination to come forward and seek that success at this point in time. And so the depth of the feminine's talents, I don't even know that the masculine has fully realized the depth of the feminine's talents at this point in time. And so there is a lot of projection in the energy. There's a lot of tendencies of projection. You know, the masculine got so sidetracked by indulging in all of those material aspects of lust, greed, and temptation. And the energy is gaining momentum for this unjustified egoism, creating massive loss in the masculine's reality because he kind of bit the hand that fed him. He shunned the hand that fed him. And once this is recognized, I do feel we will rapidly move towards these new higher influences and positions of recognition and power. And so the masculine cannot ignore the fact that he did not choose to help the feminine create this beautiful new foundation. And so I was shown like the masculine pacing, trying to figure out, do I stay with this? Does it really work? Or is it working? Is it not working? And so this irrational rejection of the feminine is making the masculine face all of these patterns that have been proven to be unsuccessful. And he's going to have to face where he's lacked integrity. And he's going to have to find a sense of security in his own personal identity. And so he's been deceiving himself. He's been deceiving others. He's been overextending all of his resources. And now he is in a position where he's going to have to break those false promises, those false vows in the karmic contract. Because thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so I do feel a gateway of discovery. We're here to build a newfound quality of life through these negative experiences that we've encountered in our physical vessel. We are here to express love of everything. We are here to honor our own inner temple and to do what is always right, no matter who is there watching us. And so the lessons that we learn on this journey are very hard because we have so much wisdom to derive from these very painful lessons. And so these deep spiritual processes are bringing forward a reevaluation, and I do feel the cycle is complete. And so the masculine has to release this cyclical nature before he can fully commit to the feminine. And so I feel his body is starting to fail under all of this stress and this constant crisis surrounding him, which is allowing him to recognize the light of the feminine. And so it is through the extremes of the challenges that we find our love of humanity. And so we are here to step into our spiritual duty, our spiritual obligations, and accepting ourselves is key in the process, the good, the bad, and the freaking ugly. And we all have good, bad, and ugly. I'm not pretty on the inside either. I've done some pretty ugly things that I've had to bear the cross for and confront. And so, and I've confronted that to restore myself to a state of harmonic relationships for this fulfillment to come forward. And so the masculine, I feel this alienation of the feminine has endangered her. And so all of these negative influences are like being illuminated, like that Libra full moon and the Aries sun came in to kind of constrict the earth and to disperse the power of these positions. And so this ego inflation is, you know, it's like the masculine getting knocked off of his high horse. And so what he's sitting at now as a crossroads is, what are you going to choose? Do you want conditioned love, or do you want unconditional love? Because I think the biggest fear of the masculine right now in all of these extremes is to come and face the feminine and hear, I told you so. And so I do feel the feminine is like this wallflower energy right now. She's shielded against all of this exposure taking place. As the masculine's defenses are weakened, there's a lot of exposure, there's a lot of humiliation, there's a lot of extremities playing out right now because it's the right timing. And so it's like thinking before speaking or acting. And so constant re-examination in the mind space is what it feels like, in order to weed out everything that does not allow the masculine to stand in his power. And so right now we're in the cosmic womb, we're in the cosmic void, and we're about ready to birth that masculine energy. And so we are here to open up to love of humanity. And I do feel we are here to bring all of this transpersonal love into humanity's focus to create a more diverse world. And so we can't keep sleeping on our gifts. Those of us that carry the responsibility of this cosmic mission, we do have to go through these very extreme spiritual judgments. And I do feel right now the feminine's aura is magnetic and amplified. I always remember the beginning of my journey, I had a dream. And so that's from the Tangled movie, I Had a Dream. And my dream was to build this spiritual business together and to call it Art and Aura. And so my name, Laura, is derived from the wreath of laurels that Jesus wore during his crucifixion. And so, you know, all of these energies have guided me to this point to share my love of humanity for all of you. But we do have to face the diverse opposites, right, in order to reach that zero polarity. And we're here to learn discipline, right, mastery in some areas of our life. And so right now it's the energy of treading, right? He's treading in the water, barely keeping his head above water as all of this negative behavior of self is awakened. And this love of self is activated within these higher light codes that have been saturating the collective recently. And so it's this conviction energy. Modesty is coming up. The feminine's rooted in a valued sense of purpose, no matter what goes on in her life. And so now the masculine is in these very hurt feelings, like a little boy, oversensitive to all of these external conditioning behaviors. And he's pushed into this hermit energy, and something about Mercury moving through Aries exalted the feminine. And actually today we do have the pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde coming in Taurus. And what does Taurus represent? These institutions, these structures, these foundations. The Hierophant is the highest power. It is a connection to God. And so it was through all of these energies of aloneness, I feel, the masculine's been in a state of almost like angry exile, isolation, facing all of this energy of him playing the martyr and this futile rejection of the feminine. And so this martyr complex needs to be released, because a lot of these masculines play into martyrdom in order to aggrandize the ego even more, because they like the attention. Oh, poor pitiful me, right? And so a lot of these masculines were opportunists at a certain point in time. Opportunism is a game, I want to say. And we're not here to play games. We're here to transform into these states of transcendence, to honor the higher codes, the higher ethics, to maintain proper behavioral patterns. And so the masculine has played into taking advantage of a lot of people. And now we're at this heretic point, is what I'm feeling. He needs to direct. He needs to avert all of these challenges at the moment. And all of this, I do feel there was likely a lifetime too where the masculine burned the feminine at the stake. I know in the Arthurian timeline, King Arthur did, well, Guinevere was not burned at the stake, but he wanted her burned at the stake for the affair. But King Arthur was sleeping around with all kinds of people too. And so I do feel now the masculine is going through this rebirth by fire, and it does feel like burning at the stake, and all of this is a direct link to these negative behaviors. And eventually what goes around comes around, and so the masculine is being punished with the burning of the stake energy. And so the masculine's really been a hypocrite. He's kind of like, do as I say, not as I do. And this is where all of these restrictions are coming in, because we are here to lead by example. And so I do feel we're in the gateway of karmic freedom, is what it feels like this weekend. And so we're redoing the framework of our roles within humanity. We're exploring what it means to be alive again, what it means to become centered and self-aware as we awaken to our highest potential and experience genuine love. We cannot experience genuine love without genuine self-love first. And so as the feminine comes to know, accept, and love herself as unique, and she chooses to use that to empower others to love themselves as well, this creates the true awakening in the masculine collective and the surrender. And so we are here to commit to becoming our most authentic self. It's not only a commitment to the counterpart, it really is a commitment to self. And so there's a strong emphasis on self-love and acceptance. Will help us deal with these deeply impactful memories coming to the surface. And so awakening can't be possible without self-acceptance. And so we all have the ability to explore this self-awareness, to empower ourselves to our highest potential, and to really live in the physical as our true selves, awake in the moment. And so I went down a few rabbit holes. I don't know how much I'm going to talk about the Knights Templars, but I went down a few rabbit holes, and I actually met a Knights Templar, somebody in 2nd degree Freemasonry, locally, and this statue figure came up. And so this is basically Baphomet, or I don't even know how to say it. But anyways, this is like a deity worshipped by the Knights Templars. And it kind of looks a little bit demonic, but it really isn't. Although it would represent the devil card. And so if you look closely at the images, we've got the pentagram upright, the pentagram reversed, Adam and Eve, Lilith, and Samuel. And so we are here to avenge the distortion of the Lilith energy. And so this deity was worshipped by the Knights Templars. It actually has been incorporated into a lot of occult and Western esoteric traditions. And this was originally, appeared in the Inquisition of the Knights Templars that did start in 1307. And so this all does come, this all just come down to this being associated with the Sabbatic goat. Right? And so this does represent our half human and half beast nature. We are half human and half beast. And we have to find the equilibrium within the opposites of our masculine and feminine. And this does represent male and female, good and evil. And we can all do good and we can all do evil. But the representation of this deity does speak of representing the goal for perfect social order. New World Order was something that I channeled years ago. And so the Devil card, right, is where we're asked to confront all of our phantom terrors of the past. It's the dragon theology, right? Facing the inner dragon, facing all of these Egyptian, Greek timelines, and facing the serpent energy. That inner monster is what we're here to face. And so what's the worst thing that can happen if you have to face your inner beast, right? And so all of this is linked to the Grand Masters of the Orders of the Templars who worshipped this deity. And this is part of the initiation stage. And so something about the Sabbath coming up. And so this is also the energy, like we're here to step into priesthood, Christhood. And so a lot of this is looked at as black magic. And so a lot of the Templars, I feel, did utilize the divine, androgynous, hieroglyphic energy and turned it into black magic. And so the devil really doesn't exist. The devil we know or the devil we don't know, right? And so the devil really is a name associated to the Black Brotherhood, or the impure brotherhood, the ignorant brotherhood. And so we cannot have God without the devil, though. So I do feel like the devil represents a lot of energies, right? Serpent, the Satan, the enemy of man. And so what is your own inner devil? Because love is a demon. And he's the one that's coming for you, right? And so the Knights Templars were like an elite fighting force back in the day. They were massacred on Friday the 13th. And so that is why Friday the 13th is so feared. And so this martyrdom in battle was one of the most glorious ways to die. Right? And so basically the Knights Templars were put to death for their accusations of denying Christ, spitting and urinating on the cross, considering that, you know, this was looked at as devil worship. And so we cannot deny the energy of Christ. All of these secret Templar initiations have, I feel, reached a pivot point here. And I feel we're at a pivot point in history. I've also done a lot of rabbit hole searching, and the Knights Templars is linked to the September 11th conspiracy theory. That's why 9/11 comes up a lot, I feel, for my own journey when it comes to the Great Masonic Experiment. And it was on 9/11 when the Twin Towers went down. That was the beginning of the end of days. And so this was an order of assassins against the Knights Templar, is what I feel. And you don't have to believe in conspiracy theories or not. I was connected to a man way back on 9/11 in 2001, and he deemed himself as Merlin the Magician. And so we are here to build the Holy Ark of the Covenant. We are here to build a state of utopia. We are here to build the new Atlantis. And so the number 19 was coming up a lot. And number 19 in numerology is the fall of the ego. And so I just feel like Friday the 13th, 13 is a big number. And when I dug deeper into the Friday the 13th energy, I was like, hey, my counterpart is born on the 13th. July 13th, 1979 was actually a Friday the 13th. And I am very much aware, he even told me when we were dating years ago that his father was Freemasonry. So enough of that talk. Let's pull in with some cards. I know we're at an hour. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. It is Good Friday. And purification stayed on the bottom. So purification, that's where we're at. We're in a state of deep spiritual purification. And so whatever you do not know about yourself, the infinite knows. God never forgets. Karma never loses an address. And so what is underground in the innermost subconscious region of your heart has to come to the surface. And so a lot of remembrance coming up. And we cannot be purified without this remembrance. So we're going to use the Dharma deck to start. I hope you're all still with me. Bottom of the deck, women. And so women need to be properly honored. And we've not been throughout all of history. All the way back from the garden where Lilith was outcast and shunned because she would not agree to being a subordinate to Adam. And what did Adam get left with? An Eve. A karmic copy of the divine feminine in low vibration. And so why are all the women of the world so very much disrespected? And why are all of our actions taken in vain? So I do feel, get ready for an understanding of all of your past reincarnations from this life, from childhood, where all of your soul has passed into a human body. And that does mean self-realization. So we'll see what else needs to come through with the Dharma deck. Oh dear, and that one wants to come through. Faith, women, impediments, so determination. And so we're here to learn from the earth. So we're here to be steadfast on our spiritual path, even though others will try to come in and disturb us. The earth continues to orbit through her burdened many creations, and so do we have to orbit through all of these burdens as well. The Women card came out again. And then we get faith. Faith is the light in the darkness, right? And when we go into hermit mode, all we do have is faith in the darkness. And so there's a world that is really guided only by faith. Faith is everything. Faith is infinite. Only through our faith can we be guided to where we need to be. And that is when we tap into the infinite possibilities. And so there's a lot of impediments right now coming up when it comes to love, likely stemming around some karmic friendships. And so what does it mean to be a true friend? Because a bad friend is like an earthen jar. And a bad friend breaks easily. And, you know, we're here to build good friendships, like a vessel made of gold. It's hard to break something that's made of gold, right? And that's what the feminine represents, the golden fortune. And so the masculine, I feel, is being blocked by all kinds of impediments right now. And there are 6 things that will block your spiritual progress on the journey. And that is eating or accumulating too much, which is addictions, right? And so drugs, alcohol, food, gambling, working too much for little reward. And that is the 3D program beliefs to work. And so I don't work. Well, I'm constantly working 24/7, but when we speak of useless things, and that is why a lot of us, you know, spend a lot of time alone, because I don't want to have useless conversations. I just can't talk about earthly 3D things anymore. We get hindered in our progress when we follow a spiritual path without understanding it, or we don't follow a spiritual path at all. When we keep negative worldly company, and when we're greedy for wealth. So the masculine, I feel, has been very greedy and dealing with a lot of bad friendships, and they've not treated the children in these connections very right. And so treat your child like a prince for the first 5 years, like a student for 10 more, and upon reaching the 16th year, like a friend. So we cannot change the environment we live in if we don't regulate ourselves first. And so if we want peace in our lives, we need to regulate ourselves according to the environment that we're in. And like I talked about, if a flower isn't growing in its environment, you don't pluck that flower, you change the environment. And so we have to face these obstacles to improve our position. We have to see things from that higher state if we want to see everything around us that is coming to kind of help us. So we're going to get a few of these messages. And this is my Work Your Light Oracle deck combined with the Starseed Oracle deck. So we're going to want to get grounded. We're going to want to get grounded because there's going to be a lot of higher ascension energies coming up, or I'm going to say around Monday. And so you're really going to want to call back your power this weekend to cut these cords as the masculines go through a very powerful soul retrieval and opens up his gateway of the cosmic heart and steps into devotion. And you know what? Bottom line is all paths lead to home, and we can take a couple of detours, but ultimately the universe is always going to divinely direct you back to where it is you're needing to be. And so a lot of us have a double mission. A lot of us are channelers. We're starseeds. We're here to activate ley lines. I know I'm a gatekeeper, a key keeper, a ley line activator. I also will transmit codes from the Akashic records to clients as I do readings for them. And so I've got more than like a double mission. So part of our mission is to come into union. And then we get the remembrance. And so I do feel a lot of remembrance of the soul plan, of the blueprint activation of the fated life versus the destined life. And we are the keepers of the earth. And so there's a lot of ancient ancestors standing behind the masculine. And he is longing for home. And so the divine masculine and feminine, we are the original twin flames. We are the original light workers. And so there's a lot of Palladian big picture thinking coming through collectively at the moment. So I'm going to grab some star code oracle messages. There's that Libra on the bottom, that Libra full moon that come in and really created a lot of synthesizing energies, I feel. So Saturn. So Saturn right now is in Pisces. And then we get the Sagittarius expand. So we're expanding beyond these restrictions. We're expanding beyond the timeline of martyrdom, the age of Pisces, and we're healing that deeply seated Chiron wound and finding our passion again, right? And so I feel an opportunity for a blank slate. You might want to really look at where Saturn falls within your housing. Right now, Saturn is in Pisces. If you have your Saturn in Pisces, you are definitely going through a Saturn return. I know my own counterpart, his Saturn is in Virgo, so he's kind of going through like a reversal return almost. And so the 5th house is linked to children, your passion, your creativity. It is linked to where you take chances in love. My 5th house is in Cancer, and then the Chiron. And so I feel something about the Taurus Chiron collective right now. I know Chiron is in Aries, but there's something about the Chiron collective of Taurus, which is a deeply seated spiritual wound. It is a disconnect from our higher self, and we're here to reconnect. And so we're healing these commitment wounds as well, and we are arriving. And so I could be talking to somebody with a Scorpio ascendant, but there's a lot of scorpionic energy of getting stung deep within the underworld. It is the energy of what goes around comes around, and it ultimately is about the power of community. And so we're here to be future oriented, a lot of North Node activations in order for us to progress on the journey. Oh, you know what? We're going to use the Arthurian Tarot today. Something about that King Arthur gets my motor going. So we're gonna read with the Arthurian Tarot today. I love me my King Arthur. So there's that 10 of Swords. There's that ultimate betrayal, the final nail in the coffin, or is that 10 of Wands? 10 of Wands reversed. So that would be the conscious release. And then we get the Spear Queen. And so, yeah. I just feel like the karmic energy, the Queen of Wands has taken the masculine down, the Stone King. And so that is somebody that all they cared about was money, materialism, greed. They were loyal to nobody but themselves, and they thought they had the checkmate. Well, I don't think so, because now we get the Lovers and the 6 of Coins. And so the masculine did not value the feminine. I think he's been in a state of dark night of the soul, and now everything is kind of coming full circle because he knows he has to come forward and apologize if he wants a sip of that holy grail cup from the feminine. So I think we're going to do 9 cards. I got my laptop here. Maybe we'll do 5. We'll do, and then we'll anchor it in. So let's see what we got going on here for the collective this weekend. All right, we've got the 3 of Swords anchored down by the Moon reversed. We've got the Magician reversed anchored down by Guinevere. We have Sovereignty anchored down by Healing, the Star. We have the Stone Maiden in reversed anchored down by the World reversed. And then we have the 9 of Swords anchored down by the Stone Queen. Okay, bottom of the deck, Stone Hallow. So that's Ace of Pentacles reversed. Ace of Swords reversed. 4 of Swords reversed. And then we get the Spiraling Tower. And so the masculine is spiraling through all space and time to understand the cosmic wisdom that the twins share. And so there's been a lack of healing. I do feel a huge release of the emotions. The masculine is going through a heart healing, and that full moon came in and activated this. And on this moon card, look at that. We've got like the cosmic baby between the twin towers. And so that is the energy of birthing this new timeline. The masculine impregnated the feminine. And so this was like, even in the timeline of Merlin and Arthur, Merlin stole Guinevere's psychic gifts, used the feminine. The feminine was not treated very good in that timeline either. And then if you look above, there's the as above, so below with the dragon. And so the feminine would represent the light fury. The masculine would represent the night fury when it comes to How to Train Your Dragon. I always reference movies. And so the crossroads, right? The masculine has always chose to manipulate and belittle. And what are we here for? Dead central. we're here for sovereignty. We're here for healing. And so the Star of David, and that was around that grand conjunction. And so we've wished for these sovereign relationships. And so where the masculine is at, it is the energy of decapitation, off with his head, for not learning this lesson. And so I do feel there's a lot of lashing out in that contract. And I do feel the masculine is definitely riddled from the past hauntings. Maybe all three of his friends that he's been connected with, they've all had to go through this beheading energy because they laid the truth down, they buried the truth, and now the truth is coming to light. And so there's a lot. Like, the feminine's been waiting a very long time in the silence, left out in the cold, and all she's had is the mirror of the connection and the energy from spirit coming forward with what it is she needs to know. And so I do feel by the Aquarius full moon in Leo season, around the 8/8 portal, we will reach this level of sovereignty. I feel the feminine's in a place of sovereignty. The feminine is in a regal state, and the feminine has taken back everything that was stolen from her. So let's clarify the star. The washer and the forward. There's the death energy. The spear 5 of wands. And the spear queen in reverse. So that queen of wands in reversed. And so there's the regret and the shame. There's the spear 3, deciding to take that guided action to come out of the hermit mode. I feel, because the treasure lies within the feminine. And so the washer and the forward is like all of that dirty laundry kind of has to come out, right? All of that dirty laundry has to come out. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of battling. And this is what the masculine wants to heal from. And he's held so tight to the lies, the deception, and he knows the truth. He's resisted moving on. And there is that wounded king on the deathbed, right? And so I do feel we're reaching a place of sovereignty. I was going to clarify sovereignty, and all three come out for me. So we're releasing the past injustices. We are going forward with these missed opportunities. And so now the masculine needs to learn to stand alone, I feel, through all of these emotional challenges. It's like a waterfall of emotions in order to reach a place of sovereignty. And now he's upright, coming in grounded, stable, and solid, offering an apology for the missed opportunity. So let's get a couple last messages with the numerology deck, and we'll close off the reading. One last message, all right? Domestic harmony, completion, and we're just going to leave it at that. So that's what we got today, guys. Self-love is key for this new beginning. So allow yourself to flow through the changes, because we are on the precipice of this new earth energy. I hope this helped. I hope you all have a wonderful Easter weekend, and I do look forward to seeing you all again Monday. Bye, everybody.